So, Carson Price for Monday, January 26, 2026.
You okay?
Are you okay?
It's turning on my microphone.
It's a Monday.
I hadn't spoken yet.
Aborted start.
No problem. I hadn't spoken yet. When that happens, then you know I'm in trouble.
Let's try this again, Mike. 3, 2, and Carson Price for Monday, January 26, 2026. Presentation of Bet365. Coming to you from the Pacific Toyota Dealer Studio here at the historic Wall Center. Visit shoptoyota.ca. Visit your local Pacific Toyota dealer today. I'm Matt. He's Blake. Mike, all his Junos, hitting switches, conducting things. Welcome back to another week here on Carson Price. Did you enjoy your weekend?
Yeah, I did. Great football game yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
Sun was out. Got the Christmas lights down finally.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And after all this sun, even though it's been pretty cold, Matt, all this sun, I suffered my first allergy attack last night. I think there's pollen in the air after all this sun. Yeah, it's been pretty damn cold. Freezing overnight, but I couldn't explain it. And as soon as I took my meds, completely fine. So, look out. If you're a seasonal allergy sufferer, it might be coming early here this year, given the amount of sun we've had in January.
When I was a horrible allergy sufferer when I lived back east, particularly like August, September, what's it called? Ragweed? Mm-hmm. You're familiar with that little yellow weed that would grow?
I'm more of a spring guy.
It grows all over the place back east in the late summer. And I would suffer for a good 6 weeks or so there. You know, where you want to like pull your eyeball out, it's so scratchy.
Yes.
Then when I moved to British Columbia, that wasn't a problem anymore. It was more like a lower level year-long allergy as opposed to a horrible allergy. See, another one of the great things of living here in British Columbia.
Less pollen in the air, yeah.
Well, I mean, I guess it's supposed to depends.
Cottonwood's a bad one.
Depending on what you're allergic to.
Yes,
but I have done much better on the allergy front here in BC than I ever did back east. And you may have seen like 50, 60 centimeters of snow in Toronto yesterday.
Yes.
Don't miss that either.
The ice storms on the East Coast of the
we
US.
got a game postponed tonight in the National Hockey League, right? Columbus?
Yep.
Poor Charlie Coyle, 1,000 games, had everybody in town.
And they're going to have to stick around for a few nights.
Yeah. Well, that time of year, right?
Yeah.
All sorts of weather happenings across this continent. Let's get to our Yellow Dog poll question, brought to you, Yellow Dog Brewing, Neighborhood Brewing, Foolish Winery. The Canucks are the NHL's worst team by 8 points. Are you confident they've got last place locked up? We know what the aim is. We know what the mission is for the second part of this season. Canucks lose a pair on the weekend, both at home, in regulation. Fall behind multiple goals in both games. Battle back, make them close. Alas, not enough to earn any standings points. Now 5-16-3 at home, with one win on the current 5-game, or 1 win and 5 on the current 8-game homestand. 39 points on the season, 8 behind St. Louis for 31st overall, 8 back of Winnipeg as well, although the Jets have a game in hand. On this homestand, they have fallen behind 6-0 versus Edmonton, 2-0 versus Washington. They won that game. 3-0 versus Jersey on Friday. 3-0 versus Pittsburgh yesterday. 30 losses in regulation now through 52 games. And as JPat noted to us yesterday, their 30th regulation loss last year in a non-playoff season came in Game 82 against Vegas. Wow. So they have already met their complement of regulation losses from last year, which was a poor year,
Yeah.
on January 25th
It's not good.
in game number 52.
The home victories is like there's different ways to have the perfect tank season. This is not the right way. The right way would be to give your home fans a decent amount of wins. Like if you flip-flop the road and home record, you're starting to talk about a perfect tank season. Who cares what they do when they're on the road? But if you give the fans, the season ticket holders, a nice night out, well, then that's doing your job.
And Friday was kind of that. We'll get into it.
Yep. Yeah, the last couple of games, you're heading in that direction. But on the whole, 5 is, whew.
Look, it's going to be very tough to blow it from here, but I still voted no. I'd feel better about a 10-point cushion, guard against that late March, April heater that you know they'll go on.
Yeah.
And I see, because, of course, if you're a longstanding Canucks fan, if you go back to particularly the Willie Desjardins era, it seemed like there were a couple of years there where they were poised to finish at the bottom or second to last, and then would go on these winning streaks in March and April. And I see a lot of derisive comments about that from Canucks fans on social media. But I think everybody needs to understand, and perhaps to prepare for yet another one of these, there's a reason why those end-of-season winning streaks happen. Well, in fact, there's several reasons why those end-of-season winning streaks happen. Number one, if you are somewhere around 32nd, 31st, 30th in the National Hockey League, late March, early April, then your team has probably got the most number of jobs in peril in the National Hockey League, right?
Yep.
You've got enough bad players that they know, boy, I could be playing my final NHL games here, which means, A, you get a great effort from them because they perceive this could be the end, or B, they're trying to hang on, and you get great performances, efforts from them.
Yep.
Right? You also will have some teams that you're facing who are not as bad as you, who are either locked into a playoff spot, even sometimes locked into playoff position, but the motivation on the other side can often be waning or less than what you would have if you're talking about guys fighting for jobs. So important to guard against that. I think I can see a 4-game winning streak at some point late in the season from these Canucks, and you know what 8 points could do.
If I was just making a bet on whether the Canucks finish last, yeah, I'd feel very comfortable betting that they finish last. But if you're telling me, do they have enough of a cushion where I feel like it's locked and almost nothing they can do will ruin it? No, I don't think they're there yet. No. I think when that gets to 14 points, yes, you're done. Or the games played column gets to such a high level that everybody else just runs out of runway. So it's getting close. So Matt, they've lost back-to-back games again after that standalone victory. Like if they go on another 5-6 game losing streak here, and that's not what they were on. This is not 12-13 games. If they go on a 5 or 6 game losing streak, yeah, they're gonna be into double digits comfortably, and at that point, it's going to be pretty tough. Because again, even if at that point, let's say they do the 5 or 6 game losing streak, then you go on a 4-game winning streak. Well, what are the chances that every team that's just above you happens to lose those 4 games? Like it's hard to we've seen it this late in the season. We're down to 30 games left, for heaven's sake. It's tough to make up ground. You know this when you're in the chase position trying to make the playoffs. That even 6 points back at this point in the proceedings, it's a lot of points considering who you've got to jump. While the Canucks are kind of doing the reverse, and it's going to be tough for teams like St. Louis, who are pretty bad too, but it's still going to be really tough for them to catch up to the Canucks.
Today, at one point, was scheduled to be a practice day for the Vancouver Canucks. It turns out it's going to be a full team day off. So we have Darren Dreger later in the program, and there is some injury news from last night's game in Pittsburgh. I know you can go to the Sekerson Price X channel. We've got Darren Dreger already. We talked to him earlier this morning, detailing some of the injuries that are coming out of these games, or out of last night's game, or yesterday afternoon's game. Sydney on an afternoon, on a Sunday afternoon in Vancouver.
Very nice. Very nice.
16 years ago, it's a really big Sunday afternoon game in that building.
It's true.
Sydney featured more so than he did yesterday, actually. The more I look at that U.S. roster, and of course with JT Miller and Vincent Trocheck as opposed to 30 goal scorers Cole Caulfield and Jason Robertson. But outside of that, the more I look at that USA roster and get more and more nervous, I just think to myself, Sydney won't let us lose. Sydney doesn't lose with the maple leaf on his chest. In fact, Sydney doesn't lose big games much at all.
You're getting that confident about this Olympics?
I'm not saying I'm that confident. It's just every time I get nervous, worried for Canada, I think of the Pittsburgh Penguins captain, who, of course, many of you saw yesterday. Hey, 18,000 of you saw him live and in the flesh last night. I just have a great comfort with Sidney Crosby as our captain.
I mean, he doesn't have as long a history of this, but because he's just so damn good, I feel like Nathan McKinnon, Connor McDavid, and Sidney Crosby just won't allow us to lose.
That's right.
They're just that good.
You look at the Four Nations, breaks were going against the boys.
Yeah.
In the prelim game against the U.S., nervous in that championship match. And how'd it turn out? As it always turns out.
Yeah.
With Canadian players arm in arm at the blue line singing our anthem. I was terrified 16 years ago at Canada Hockey Place, as we renamed the arena for these 2 weeks of the 2010 Vancouver Whistler Olympic Winter Games. I remember being in the concourse with our buddy Ray Farrar, discussing the overtime that was coming up. We were always so worried about Roberto Luongo, who was not at his sharpest that night.
Mm-hmm.
Ryan Miller Ryan Miller was the better goaltender in the Olympics, future Vancouver Canuck at that point versus current Vancouver Canuck. And then Sydney wouldn't let us loose. Scored the golden. Captain Bell referenced it on his hit with us on Friday. And he was covering the game for the Associated Press, 7 rows up.
He said that's the loudest thing he's heard next to the 12s.
Yes.
Seattle.
Of course, they have 3 times the people there in an outdoor stadium, it must be said. What's up with our friends at Yellow Dog?
What's not? They've got fabulous new things to talk about, like the Peach City Sour. Yeah, I talk about allergies, and it's time to think about fruit. It's time to think about springy, refreshing drinks. Millions of peaches in the places that neighborhood calls home.
Millions of peaches.
Peaches from me. These are not free, but they make you feel free. This sour wheat ale from neighborhood is bursting with tropical fruit flavors, balanced out by a touch of hops for a little je ne sais quoi. Peaches for you, peaches for me, peaches for president.
It's all peachy.
It is. The Peach City Sour from Neighborhood Brewing.
And, of course, they're there, right in the capital of peaches in British Columbia.
Mm-hmm.
Peach Fest in Penticton, Peach Land on your way to Penticton off the connector. Love me a good peach. Okay, our top story brought to you by Pacific Blue Cross. Deadlines, plural, season. As the NHL marches to the February 4th Olympic roster freeze, which many believe will work as a de facto trade deadline this year, before the actual trade deadline on March 6th. Former Vancouver Canucks goaltender turned NHL analyst / insider Kevin Weeks tweeting on Friday that he has identified suitors for Vancouver Canucks winger Evander Kane, and they are the Colorado Avalanche and the Dallas Stars. He calls them likely destinations. Of course, these are two of the best teams in the National Hockey League. Colorado #1, having an extraordinary season. Nobody would be surprised if Dallas winds up as the #2 overall team.
No.
They're not quite there yet, but they have been this year. And, of course, two rooms that are laden with veterans, made NHL stars who are now singularly focused on winning cups after being contenders for so many years without actually lifting the chalice. Colorado did in 2022, but this era of stars have not.
Mm-hmm.
Got to a cup final in the COVID.
They always leave you wanting. Just always something missing.
Yeah.
Somebody short, somebody who's fallen off the table isn't performing.
Yeah.
I wonder if this Jason Robertson ordeal is going to be too big a distraction with this contract.
And his Olympic exclusion.
Exclusion, yeah.
Let's see where this goes.
Injuries are piling up.
Quote unquote, injuries and injury replacements may be the order of the day as we get a little closer to players actually getting on planes and heading over to Italy for the Olympic Games. I saw Simon Edvinsson of Detroit is now
also injured.
Sweden's list of guys who are hurt or who are already counted out of the Olympics is terrible. And on top of this Kevin Weeks report about Evander Kane, Frank Saravelli added on his Frankly Speaking podcast, said a reason why the Canucks want to get Evander Kane trade over with now is they don't want to have to pay him around $400K in base salary over the Olympic break. Some of these NHL players are going to have a lot of time on their hands over the Olympic break.
Yes. But I think
getting paid not to play NHL games.
That sounds a little bit like, not that he's way past all of his former transgressions, but I don't know that there's evidence that, he's got free time and all the money he wants in every summertime. And, he showed up relatively ready for work, I think, for training camp this year. So I'm not ready to get too up in arms about that.
And then there's Canucks defenseman Philip Hronek, the captain in training, ?
Mm-hmm.
Of course, in possession of a full no-move clause, and his Prince Charming agent Alan Walsh shot down any kind of trade talks around Hronek on his podcast, quoting Walsh, "Talking about a trade is wasted time. I'm not going into details, but I've spoken with Canucks management, and they see him as a long-term solution. Phil hates losing, but he wants to be the reason the Canucks win here." Walsh went on and said, "Both sides are basically saying we're really happy with each other and we really like the role Hronek is playing, and the player is satisfied with the role he is playing." And then Allen finished saying, "Obviously, Philip is not happy when Vancouver loses because there is no more competitive guy who hates losing than him." I know there's a lot of Canucks fans out there that are saying Philip Hronek is the best trade piece the team has, as in all situations, top pair right shot defenseman on $7.25 million for this year and many beyond. I understand that. I understand the line of thought also that Philip Hronek at his age 28 could still be part of the solution and could still be a very good NHL player when this team re-enters competitiveness. And it's worth keeping him because, A, you've got to keep some veterans to begin with. You're not going fully down to the studs, much as some Canucks fans would like that. And that it's the scarcest or one of the scarcest commodities in the NHL. You could spend a lot of time looking for an all situations right shot top pair defenseman. So, look, this is the case for now, as uttered by Alan Walsh, and I take him 100% for his word on this. I don't think there's any games being played here. we'll see how Hronek feels a year from now, 2 years from now, when I don't suspect there will be a lot of winning done by the Vancouver Canucks.
No, I think that it's going to be a test on all sorts of personalities. But this is one guy in particular who's had a tough time stifling his energy and his bite. So it'll be interesting to see how Philip Hronek deals with that and how the rest of the crew deals with all the losing.
He took the ceremonial face-off on Friday. He's been made available to speak to media as of late, which didn't happen often, either here in Vancouver or with his time with the Detroit Red Wings. And lastly, has it been confirmed yet? Is former Canuck Carson Soucy off from one New York team to the other? There were reports
He's taking the night off.
Yeah.
Taking the night off for sure. But.
Reports this morning that Carson Soucy was being dealt from the Rangers to the Islanders. I didn't see a return there. I believe The Athletic and the New York Post were
They're
both
working
saying,
on those details.
Yes, we're both. Well, I mean, how difficult could the details be?
Yeah.
Nevertheless,
retention might be part of it.
Okay. The Carson Soucy is making his way, and the Rangers, as we know, announced in a yet another letter to their fans that they would be undergoing a retool. They did that once before, a number of years ago. Didn't rise to the level of Stanley Cup contenders, but are assuring their fans this is not a rebuild, this is a retool. And so the Canucks do have company when it comes to the sellers across the National Hockey League. The Rangers have joined the fray. Calgary joined the fray with Rasmus Andersson, although they apparently also don't want to do a to-the-studs rebuild or even want to utter rebuild. We know the St. Louis Blues are also open for business, dangling a number of players, including players with term. We will see if the Winnipeg Jets, Chicago Blackhawks, Nashville Predators, Ottawa Senators join the list of sellers here at some point. Again, that February 4th Olympic roster freeze is serving as a bit of a mini trade deadline before the trade deadline, principally for a couple of reasons. Number one, there is only 12 days between the end of the Olympic roster freeze and the actual trade deadline, so not a ton of time to get your business done. But also, teams are allowed to centralize and get back on the practice ice with the Olympics ongoing. I believe that date is February 17th. So you've got a lot of general managers and particularly coaches who are looking at this. And, of course, one of the big challenges for them is how to integrate a trade deadline acquisition. Can remember talking to Gillis and Gilman back when the Canucks were buyers, saying one of the challenges when you go out deadline shopping is to be able to integrate the new player, have them feel at home so they're, feel at ease at home so they're mentally prepared to play their best, but also in terms of forming chemistry with potential line mates or pairings when speaking of defensemen. And I think there's a lot of GMs and coaches who are viewing that centralization date on the 17th as a good way of really sort of executing a mini training camp, if you will, for new acquisitions to get them oriented to their new surroundings. What's interesting is
there's nobody in the chase pack that has got any momentum right now in the West. Nobody amongst Nashville, Chicago, Calgary, St. Louis has more than 5 wins in their last 10. Like they are spinning tires, and the teams that they're chasing all have played fewer games than them. So they might look, the Jets might look and say, oh, we're only 8 points back. The Flames might say, oh, we're only 7 points back. Well, the Kraken, the Kings, who are still below the line but ahead of them, and the Sharks have all played fewer games than them. And so it may be a 10-point bulge there in a lot of cases for those chase teams. There's no doubt the Kings and the Kraken are in it. They're below the bar, but they are in it. They're tied at 55 points with the Sharks. But outside of those two teams, I don't know if there's going to be any more buyers. Like I really thought if the Jets could just get on a little bit of a warm streak, they'd be a buyer actually, because I think in their heart of hearts they think they're better than their record indicates. But if you can't get that much closer than they are right now, I just don't see the Jets turning things around. So it's going to be just the teams above the bar.
Honestly, when I heard they were buying a couple weeks ago, I'm like, Chevy's kidding himself. And I can't for the life of me understand why he hasn't fired this coach. Like, Scott O'Neill is not an NHL coach. It's playing out day by day.
Yeah, probably fair.
Well, I mean, each and every time he speaks, too, he doesn't sound like, he sounds utterly lost.
Yeah.
I thought there was an easy move for Winnipeg to make 2 months ago. Fire your coach. Bring in a more proven NHL guy and see what kind of results you get. But now it might be too late.
You know what?
And we know O'Neill. He was a Canucks assistant back in the day, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Coached their minor league team.
Just dawned on me, Matt. We were talking about how bad the Canucks are at home. You know what the Canucks fans should do? They should just go watch them on the road. And our friends at Pacific Blue Cross want to make it happen. That's where you see Canuck victories. Win the ultimate Canucks road trip right now. Get Pacific Blue Cross travel insurance working for you, and you'll get your chance to see the Canucks take on the Kings in LA, complete with flights, hotel, lower bowl tickets, and more. No purchase necessary. Contest ends February 28th, 2026. Enter now at pacificbluecross.ca/Canucks.
She just got us some travel insurance.
Yeah. Good idea.
But we're ineligible. We would not take them.
The trip? No.
Couldn't possibly.
No.
You're going to go see the Canucks on the road as well.
In a couple weeks.
Got a daughter's hockey tournament taking you abroad, huh?
Yes.
Attaboy. Okay, this from Patrick Johnson on Friday, but we are expected to hear this week whether Thatcher Demko has a chance to play again this season. Now, PJ says in the piece on Friday that expected to hear as soon as Monday. And again, today at one point was scheduled to be a practice day. So I suppose we won't hear today unless the Canucks are going to take it upon themselves to issue a news release on this. But
they have, but not on this. We'll get to that in just a second. Finish your thoughts on Demko.
Well, I was going to say I suspect it's going to come via Adam Foote in his daily media scrum. But he last played on January 10th. It was the second time he had to exit a game this season. The Canucks have not even detailed the injury yet. We don't know what's amiss.
No, it's through the fog. I do wonder, and they haven't given us anything yet. But is the idea here that they have found maybe hints that there's one injury that is causing all of the injuries? And we talk about compensatory injuries all the time, particularly for goaltenders. So have they found somebody that has been able to finger the exact problem that has caused the cascade of injuries here for Thatcher Demko? I hope that's what this is all about. And there's just no need to see Thatcher Demko the rest of the season anyhow. So you might as well shelve him and get to the bottom of it.
Okay, let's get to this Canucks release. As mentioned, Darren Dreger is going to detail, at least one timeline here. But the Canucks have placed winger Brock Boeser and defenseman Zeev Buium on IR retroactive to yesterday. Forward Jonathan Lekramaki has been recalled, as has defenseman Victor Mancini. Both were with the Abbotsford Canucks. And in fact, we'll get into the Abbotsford Canucks
contributed
later. Particularly Lekramaki over the course of the weekend, who has looked terrific in AHL duty this year. It's funny. Just kind of across an account who was doubting Dreger's information on this. I was like, okay. At your own peril. There you go. There's the confirmation. 3-2, they lose to Pittsburgh. Boeser and Buium both hurt. Before we get to the injuries, veteran Teddy Blueger. Not many Stanley Cup winners in the Vancouver Canucks dressing room.
Mm-hmm.
Teddy Blueger is one of them, of course, with the Vegas Golden Knights. He had some pointed words to his teammates in the postgame. Let's hear first from Teddy, who was questioning the club's mental toughness.
Yeah, obviously the pushback was good. Down 3, I think these days teams come back from that all the time, so we know that. No lead is really that safe. Pushback was good. We had a couple grade A chances in the last couple minutes. But obviously we can't keep putting ourselves in that position every night and chasing it like that. I think probably mentality isn't strong enough at this point. But when things, we had some chances in the second, and then they made a bit of a push and scored a couple, and we just don't have the right mentality to kind of like combat that as quick as we need to. So we give up, seems like, goals in bunches almost every night, which is obviously a problem.
And look, we know who's on the ice, who's not on the ice. You can control effort. And while it's more difficult to control mentality, as Teddy was talking about, attitude is within your control as well. And we had mentioned, on that Eastern road trip that preceded this big homestand, you had started to see effort become a problem. But even beyond that, the here we go again, droopy ears, Eeyore in the corner, going to the garden to eat worms sort of mentality had started cropping up. And we went through all the big leads that the Vancouver Canucks have surrendered on this homestand, falling behind by multiple goals. And it was interesting to hear Blucher say, well, coming back from a couple of goals down, 3 goals down, that happens these days in the league. Never used to, but he's not necessarily wrong, right? Like a 2-3 goal lead isn't quite what it was in the dead puck era. So I understand. I heard his mouth and what he's trying to say there. But I also don't think he's wrong in terms of the mentality here, and that's something that you can control, and that is something that, frankly, Blake, is on the coaching staff to some. It's always on the individuals first and foremost, but it's also on the coaching staff.
See, what I hear there, when I was like, Teddy, you should have seen what this was like 5 weeks ago.
You were hurt, Teddy.
If you're dismayed now, you should have seen what these guys looked like 5 weeks ago.
I think that's part of it, though, Blake. We're talking about a guy who's now played 3 games coming back from injury, has been in the room, a veteran guy, again, with a cup ring. In fact, I think he's the only Canucks player with a cup ring.
See,
who has taken stock of what's the conversation, the attitude, everything on the bench. And, of course, we heard from Foote last week about the veterans and the body language, who's taken stock of what's going on the bench, what's going on in the intermissions, what's going on in the pregame, and is not loving what he's hearing and seeing.
Well, and that could be that behind closed doors he's seeing something of concern. Out in the open, I think it's a vast improvement, even with the losses. I think people said on Friday that they played very well. They played hard. They tried to come back. Like there was, and I thought that it was pretty similar yesterday. I know it wasn't as entertaining through the first half of the game, especially with that second period going against them. But they did fight. They did score a couple goals, and it was one member of my family was like, God, they're always pulling the goalie at the end of every game. And I thought, yeah, they are. They're always losing. That's what that says. But it also means they are that close every single game, and they've got a chance to have one shot, tie the game right until the 60th minute. And again, 3, 4, 5 weeks ago, none of that was true. So I think it's heading in the right direction. That's why I think it was a perfect tank weekend. Saw better effort. We saw goals from important players, but it came in a loss. So the tank commander is happy in the end as well. So I don't know. I'm not seeing what Teddy Bluger is saying. He might see something different behind closed doors, but certainly not what I see on the ice.
Teddy also talked about team has a lot to learn. Let's hear from him.
It's a tough one. I think we got to dig in. Find the motivation to play with each other, to play for each other. Come together. I think this is something that regardless of where we end up this year, this is something that we're going to have to learn to do for future, and whatever young guys are here are going to have to learn. That's like some of those guys on the other side have done it, and they know what it's like, and they kind of have that. Find a way to get it done and dig in and play for each other and do the details right, and put your teammates in a good spot, and put your ego to the side and do the dirty work that maybe you guys don't see or appreciate, but that your teammates know that you did. Getting pucks in at the blue line, tracking back, managing the puck, blocking shots, being physical, sticking up for each other. All those little details add up to a lot, and I think build character in the room. And when you have a team of 20 guys that all do that, I think it's a tough team to beat.
It's a TED Talk,
Wow.
isn't it?
Well, I was just going to say, it's quite the list.
Pardon the pun.
Touch them all, Teddy.
But,
but Blake,
it's a young team. So, I mean, what he's saying are just sort of evergreen truths about a young team now, that they don't know a lot of the stuff that they don't know yet. And they're going to get there. And again, I do think him not being around also is feeding into this.
I think that's part of it as well. But you say it's a young team in evergreen, and that is absolutely fair, Blake. But I think also what I hear when I hear those words is what we were talking about last week, that the capitulation came too early with this group. You had the Hughes trade. It was a jarring shock to the system. To their infinite credit, they went out and they won 4 games. They got through the holiday break, right? And then on the other side of Christmas, the losing started and the mope started. And then suddenly things became really easy for the opposition. And a guy who wasn't in the room experiencing that was watching it from the outside going, my God, 11-game franchise worst losing streak. What in the name is going on there? Now he's had 3 opportunities to see it firsthand and feels like a made NHL veteran and a leader who has hit the mountaintop in this league, that he is empowered to say a few things. And I think he's absolutely right. Because I think Adam Foote and others around the Canucks were like, okay, look, we understand we're not a very good team on paper. We understand that we are going to lose more than our fair share of games going forward. But 11 in a row, when we're getting blown off the ice in a lot of those nights, that's unacceptable. That's losing culture. That's losing as habits and not enough pushback against what our real enemy is, and that's losing. Because, look, the organization, and frankly, Rutherford has articulated it, which you don't often see. They know the score here. Management understands the best thing that happened to this team and this organization long-term is to finish dead last in the league, secure a top 3 pick, hope you win the first pick, draft a star player, and then go forward. But as we always used to say, and this was a ongoing discussion for a number of years here with the Canucks, players and coaches don't tank. We heard for Corrado on this last week, right? Like, players and coaches, their job is every best effort, every best preparation, go into the game putting your best foot forward to try and win. Most nights it's not going to be enough. But if you do that day in, day out, then you are building something by way of culture, and you're going to get those occasional wins that we talked about last week, right? Just to stem the tide of all the negativity, all the losing, and 11-game skids.
I think the return of Bluger and the return of Hedl gave them a big boost. And I think we're still seeing it, because I think the speed of Hedl, Hedl's played a couple of good games here where, yeah, he hasn't ended up on the score sheet, but he's had chances, and I think he adds a veteran poise, lowercase v veteran, because he's still relatively young, but he looks like a National Hockey League player out there. And, particularly, again, going back to Friday, as those goals started to go in for the Canucks, even I think it was Sportsnet, it might have been SportsCenter, doing the highlights of the game later, was talking about the celebration and the vibes from the Canucks team looking so good as they started to build that comeback. The celebrations of the goals were very pronounced by the Canucks. Like, they wanted that one back. So I think this team is in, again, I'm restricted to the last week, is showing signs of doing it the right way. I mean, it's an underskilled team. They're going to lose. They're going to lose a lot. They're not good enough. But it's the how, and I think the how has been a lot better in the last week. So I appreciate that Teddy Bluger wants to be a leader here down the stretch for as long as he might be here, because he might be one of the guys dealt. But again, with the context of it was so much worse, I think the last week's been a victory in a lot of ways.
Zeev Buium takes a puck in the face. He returns with a shield, but as Darren Dreger reported, and it's coming up next segment in the interview, he is going to miss a minimum of a week here. Looks like 1 to 2 weeks that he is going to be shut down. In Boeser's case, it's a suspected concussion. His second in as many seasons after that Tanner Jeannot hit last year. This time around, it was Pittsburgh's Brian Rust with an elbow to the back of the head and a goalmouth scramble. He is going to face supplemental discipline from the Department of Players, the NHL's Department of Player Safety. Again, more on that coming up with Dreger. Jake,
a lot of people are saying, how the heck did Buium finish the game if he's out for 2 weeks? And I get it. It's a valid criticism. But
question, not criticism.
Criticism of the caution shown by the team. But if the player's adamant, I'm good. I feel great. Put me back out there. Put the bubble on. I want to get. I mean, they generally don't get in the way of that if he's not showing concussion symptoms. But yeah, if it ends up being a broken orbital bone and he went and played, it's not a great look.
But it's also, son, you're a big part of this team's future, and we're trying to finish last.
Yeah, but that goes to the micro to the macro as well, right? Through the game, too. They could have just said, son, we don't need you out there. We're good.
Typically, upper management doesn't get the call in-game. Typically, upper management has more to say about it between games. Jake DeBrusk scores just his second even-strength goal of the season. He was one of a couple of Canucks that we were told of were sick on Friday. It looked like a benching in the second period against Jersey for DeBrusk, but apparently it was just he and Elias Pettersson weren't feeling well. And the other thing I think empowered Teddy, he scored his third goal in 5 games this year, Blake.
Mm-hmm. Nice one, too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, as we said, he is on if we're talking trade deadline, like on a contending team, you will have trouble doing worse than Teddy Blueger is your fourth line center. Like that, that is a good pickup for a playoff bound team.
I was a little skeptical when the Canucks brought him in and talked about him all that much because I was like, well, he was Vegas's 5th center. Like he was a healthy scratch in the playoffs. Mm-hmm. But I think it's becoming more and more clear that was an excellent Vegas team down the middle, and that Teddy would have played for maybe all 31 other teams.
He was the deluxe insurance plan.
Was he ever? Mm-hmm. Holy cow. And I think you're right that he would make a contender better here. Coquitlam's Ben Kindel, 2 goals for the Pens in his first game at Rogers Arena as an NHLer. 18-year-old forward, 11th pick in the draft last year. Everybody was surprised he stuck with the Penguins coming out of training camp. Then people thought, he's one of those 8-game look-see guys.
1 goal for every 100 fans in attendance for him.
He's got 10 goals, 22 points in 48 games this season, and had 192 people in attendance, according to the Penguins last night.
That means that you are pretty well liked family, I think.
Holy cow, are you not like the takes a village saying? This actually is a small village.
Yeah.
192.
You could incorporate that for sure.
Absolutely. Look at them, all in sweaters. We don't often do this, but he's a local kid. Let's hear from him post-game on the motivation of playing in his hometown.
Yeah, it's obviously awesome. I mean, lots of people that have been part of my life for a long time and have helped me make it here, so it's great. I mean, this night's just about them as much, so yeah.
Do you have an idea of how many people you've had here today?
I'm not exactly sure. My mom was keeping track. I think around 150 maybe, but yeah.
Somebody audited it. 192.
You said you knew your kids grew up.
I had some interaction with Steve because he ran North Van North Van football. For
of course, a Whitecap once upon a time, right? His dad,
86er or Whitecap.
Mom too was a pro, so good athletic bloodlines there. Very nice story for the young man. Of course, could have been a Canadian World Junior, but the Penguins were like, no, he's too important to us, and they are in a playoff race. Blake, he's 2 points shy of a half point per game as a smaller 18-year-old. It's not like he's got NHL man size out there either.
He looks like an 18-year-old kid playing in the NHL.
I mean, he looks like an 18-year-old there too. I mean, Young. These are the sorts of players we're looking to get into this Canucks program going forward. So good on them. The 5-4 loss to Jersey, but as Blake said, the perfect night for the Tank. They were entertaining. They fought back. They showed heart. They showed hustle.
Buium's
The kids
goal
stood
was
out.
amazing.
Buium's goal was marvelous, and they lost in regulation, so no points gained. Yeah, dazzling move coming down off the point with the puck in tight quarters, attacking the guts of the ice.
And staying with the play to get the rebound.
And stay because the initial foray, and more often than not, they don't go in. I love that he stuck with it for his 5th goal of the season. And again, this isn't a long-term injury, so it's...
Yeah, he's going to be fine.
Yeah, if he has to sit out even through the Olympic break, so be it.
Yeah.
Oftentimes with a young player like that, it just makes them hungrier, right? So we'll see.
There's a lot of teams that don't have as many Olympians that are in the playoffs. They're like, the Olympics is wicked.
Yeah.
Because we don't have many Olympians, so we're getting healthy. Everybody's nursing their bruises, catching their wind, and then the teams that are laden with Olympians, honestly, those guys are going to come back wrecked, Matt. If you're a team...
Some of them.
If you're a team that's got a multiple, especially Canadian and American Olympians, they're going to come back wrecked.
Yeah.
Like fatigued at the very least, if not injured. It's going to be interesting.
The team I wonder about there is Tampa Bay.
Yeah.
Because, of course, Tampa Bay's in a playoff spot. Tampa Bay's had an excellent season under the lawyer from
surprisingly
Prince George.
excellent
Yeah,
season.
no, exactly. I mean, they seem to find players. This Radish guy, undrafted, all he's doing is scoring. And others. But, of course, Tampa Bay has the 3 forwards who are all on the Olympic team, and Braden Point, Brandon Hagel, and Anthony Cirelli are not the high-end top 6 scorers on this team.
No.
So they're going to be doing the
Do we know
grunt work.
Point's going for sure, though?
Well, he's on the team, Blake. So,
no, but I mean, injury-wise, though?
I mean, he was one of the first 6 guys named.
Yeah, I know, but he's injured right now, is he not? I have to double-check that.
Okay, check on that. I'll make a note here, Point injured. But, I mean, you anticipate those are the guys who are playing the tough minutes against the opposition's best forwards, blocking shots and all the penalty kill stuff as well.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll see. One team that you may want to fade in the second half of the season, Tampa Bay. Although I guess their Russian goaltender isn't, and their Russian winger superstar aren't going to be
Yes, they will be healthy.
by the
Yeah, Braden Point's out. He's expected back for the Olympics.
Yeah.
His first
So
game's
there
back.
you go. We'll see.
Yeah.
Let's spend some time on the Abbotsford Canucks because there are some good stories there. And let's start with the Artie Party. The one and only Arturs Shilovs, of course, now a Pittsburgh Penguins goaltender after the trade in the summer. And here's Ryan Johnson, general manager of the Abbotsford Canucks, presenting Artie with his championship ring. Of course, they only arrived here last week. Very elaborate design, shipping. Had the ring ceremony for the holdover Abbotsford Canucks players. Some of them are with the Vancouver Canucks now. But there you go. Get Artie his ring because, well, he was the Jack Butterfield Trophy winner as the AHL playoff MVP. Was 14-5-1 last year. 241 goals against, 908 save percentage for the Abbotsford Canucks. Was a big reason why they lifted the trophy as the best in the American Hockey League. He spoke about it as well. Here's the quote as transcribed by Canucks Army's Tyson Cole. It was great, really nice to have, great experience with the team back then, just remembering how we battled every single game to get there. It's a memory for life. I was a little disappointed Artie didn't get the start yesterday.
Yeah, I
thought that would have been a very nice touch. Now, new coach in Pittsburgh, first-time rookie NHL head coach. And, of course, they're fighting for a playoff spot, so he's the goalie who gives me the best chance to win this game, and he's got to worry about workload and all those things.
He might have tipped his hand, though, the week previous when Skinner was back in Alberta, and he gave him the Calgary start, not the Edmonton game.
So maybe he's just not a sentimental fellow.
Yeah. Or maybe he thinks it's just too much of a distraction. They're having good seasons.
Yeah.
Let them just play their
Fair
game.
enough. But I thought it could have been a really nice moment because you know how the cult status that Artie got, and not because of his Abbey Canucks playoff MVP campaign, but of course because of how good he looked against that potent Edmonton Oilers team in the second round of the Stanley Cup playoffs a couple of years ago when he's the third-string goalie thrown to the Wolves. You think, oh, my God, this series is done and dusted, and he gets them to 7 games. If only he could have stopped a couple extra shots from distance in that series, there might have been a hell of an upset. But I thought there was the opportunity there for a moment where 18,000 people acknowledge Artur Shilovs and his contributions to the Vancouver and Abbotsford Canucks last season and the year beyond, or the year preceding. Abbotsford won a pair of games on the weekend. Ty Mueller, 3-point game yesterday. Danila Klamovic with another goal. And then there's Jonathan Lekramaki, who has now been recalled. He had a goal Friday. He had an assist on Sunday.
The assist on Sunday was spectacular.
But Mike, play that back again. Look at the way this kid shoots the puck, though. Holy cow. You know, for a Canucks team that, let's face it, is not, look at this. Yeah. Did you see that? Like, okay, this is an NHL game. I get it. But to beat goaltenders from that kind of distance, did you see the quickness of the release there? That puck is off his stick in picoseconds, and it's far corner going against the grain. The way this kid shoots the puck is special. You know, will he have enough time and space? Will he figure out the NHL enough and have enough NHL speed and power to be able to get to those spots? We'll see. But in a second half of this Canucks schedule where, let's face it, we're not going to have a ton of highlights by way of victories, I am most interested to watch Jonathan Lekramaki and see him get opportunity here, Blake.
The assist,
to be in a scoring.
He's not a setup guy at all, but Matt, he led the charge over the blue line. He was 1v4, holds up on the puck on the near wall, cuts across the blue line, stick handles around 2 guys, and then looks a pass to Mueller, who's underlapping behind him.
Yep.
And then Mueller comes in and scores. I mean, he's just showing all the right signs here that he's getting it. There's a click happening here at the AHL level. And he's produced at the AHL level before, but it looks like he's dominating now at the AHL level, which says something. Again, he's 21 still? This is a kid.
I'd have to look him up, but yeah. I want to say he's 22, but 21.
Yeah.
Be 22 in July. And Dave Hall, our buddy from Canucks Army, and in fairness to Dave, he tweeted this before the roster moves today. For those who are wondering why he was still down in the AHL, because we had talked about, okay, now you're moving players out. Sherwood, it's time to make some opportunity for one of your best prospects. But as Dave rightfully points out, he is just coming back to the lineup after being out for a month. And the AHL is going to take this break, this 20-day break for the Olympics, whereas the AHL will keep playing. So I suspect you will see Lekramaki return to the Abbotsford Canucks when the NHLers pause, so that he can continue to play.
In fact, I love this for him. Play 2, 3, 4 games before the Olympic break with the Vancouver Canucks, and then back to hone his craft again.
They got 5 left here. The Canucks do before the Olympic break. They have tomorrow home to Macklin Celebrini and the San Jose Sharks. Thursday home to the Anaheim Ducks. Saturday afternoon home to the Toronto Maple Leafs in a building that's going to sound like Scotiabank Arena. And then they're on the road in Utah, in Vegas next week before they shut it down for the Olympics. We should shout Aku Koskenvo as well, the Finnish netminder, his first American Hockey League shutout, 4-0 win over San Diego yesterday. 2021 fifth-round pick, 2-4, 267 goals against, 908 save percentage with Abbey in his first professional season after developing at Harvard University.
We mentioned Mancini scored as well yesterday, so he's starting to come along, and his points per game now in the AHL not too far off what it was last year. So
big opportunity for Mancini here. We talked about it last week. Blake was a little upset with me that I'm as dire straits about the kid now, but he has been bypassed in the organization by younger defensemen. it is time for Victor Mancini to root himself as an NHL player.
Well, it's a crowded stable now, right? Like we're sort of living in the past a little bit about Canucks defensive prospects. Now, there's not a lot of true blue chippers outside of Willander and Buium, but with Minio, Kudratsev, Mancini, DPD, I mean, there's again, if half of them hit, you've got half your defense core. You've got
more. I mean,
like it's pretty good lottery tickets.
And sticking with hockey, Vancouver Golden Knights won again yesterday, 2 in a row now, beat Seattle, their expansion cousins, in a takeover game in Denver. They're now 5-7-1-2 and up to 5th place in the PWHL. They had been in the league cellar, so this was upward mobility. They're in Minnesota Wednesday for a game, barring more murders on the streets of that city. Their last game before the Olympic break.
Frost played yesterday. They actually did have the game. And the American players gave a press conference afterwards and were
because there was an NBA game postponed.
Yeah, but they played and they were quite emotional about it, so they're getting some support there.
Time now for our menu. It's brought to you by our friends at Greta, a fantastic spot to catch all the games home and away. And we will have some watch parties coming up at Greta that we'll tell you about very soon, but you were steps from the arena or stadium, so awesome place to pregame, postgame. If you are planning a group party, check out Greta. I think you'll love their space. The back upstairs riser is perfect for certain groups. You're surrounded by televisions. You're surrounded by the arcade with a game for everyone. Lots of fun there. Plus the street food menu, absolutely delicious. Check it out, gretabar.com for more info or to book. On foot, 50 West Cordova. Greta, let the games begin. Dreger coming up with his reports on Buium, on Boeser, on Thatcher Demko as well. We asked him about Evander Kane, Tyler Myers trade possibilities. And then JPat's going to join as well as we look back on the weekend ahead, look forward to the 3-game week that begins tomorrow against San Jose. We'll talk to him about Philip Hronek as captain. We'll talk Zeev Buium comparables there. Later in the program, the Seattle Seahawks are off to Super Bowl 60. Some doubted them and picked against them in a big way on Friday.
Doubting a lot of players, doubting Darnold, doubting Mancini. Like, just, let the guys cook. Never a doubt.
New England is the opponent. We've seen this Super Bowl matchup before. Whitecaps bring in what looks to be a young up-and-comer. So does the Canadian men's national team. We know Victoria Mboko is an up-and-comer in the world of tennis, and there's some BC boys doing okay on the PGA Tour. We'll get to all of those stories a little later on. Time now for our Bet365 bets of the day, Blake. Needless to say, lost on Rams minus 13.5. So why don't you start?
Got mine. I'm looking at Wednesday Champions League action. Jonathan David got another goal. Taking on Juventus taking on Monaco. It is Champions League action, even though it's a fellow Serie A team. And I think he's going to go to the assist. I don't like he's plus 110. Like, how weird is this to see a major European soccer match and the best, or the best odds to win in terms of the house is Jonathan David, a Canadian.
Yeah, it's true.
Like, that's pinch yourself.
He's been awesome though. He has been
in the last 2 weeks.
Completely awesome.
I'm going to take an assist because he loves to help others too. Plus 500 on a single assist for Jonathan David.
7 of the top 8 seeds on the men's draw are through to the quarterfinals at the Australian Open. And the quarters start today. And the one exception is in this match. It's American Lerner Teen. And when I looked him up, I went, interesting. 20-year-old, lefty. He's seeded, so he's already playing amongst the best in the world. And I was all set to pick him in the upset because, I love underdogs against Sasha Zverev. Then I looked up Zverev versus lefties. 81-19 in his career, 81%. As of November, he won 35 matches against the last 36 lefties he's played. He just demolishes Portsiders. So I'm going to go Zverev, minus 225 to win the Australian Open quarterfinal here today. This segment, a presentation of Bet365. Whatever your bet, it's never ordinary at Bet365. Download the app, get in on the game. Use code NATION when doing so. Must be 19 or older. Please play responsibly. Darren Dreger, next. Secure some price from the historic Wall Center.
This segment brought to you by your Pacific Toyota dealers and the Toyota Prius plug-in hybrid. Remember the joy of driving. Remember when you were 16, you got your license for the very first time?
Amazing.
That joy. Have you had that joy recently? It's time that you do. Drive the Prius. You'll rediscover it. An amazing cockpit there, and that's what it is, because you're in your new rocket ship here in the Prius plug-in hybrid. Fabulous dash, very intuitive screen, and all the functions that it provides. But again, you don't need to pore over a novel-sized manual to figure it out. It's pretty intuitive stuff, and it's just super fun to drive. A little tap of the gas, and you're moving. It's a lot of fun. It's a sports car, room for the hockey bag, the golf bags,
goalie gear,
everything you need. Go check it out right now. You can lease the Prius SE from $109 weekly. That's with $3,300 down, 3.9% APR financing. Go take one for a test drive at your Pacific Toyota dealers or shoptoyota.ca.
When you were 17, just picking up the fellas and going for a drive around town on a Friday night, that was entertainment enough. The only problem was back then, everybody had to chip in for gas. Plug-in hybrid. Don't even need to go to the fellas for gas money.
That's a great point for, trust me, I see the charges on my credit card. I'm like, I guess somebody's filling up. That's interesting. In their car.
Exactly. Here's Darren Dreger, TSN Hockey Insider, one half of the Ray and Dregs Hockey Podcast. He joins us Mondays. How are you?
Good. Just reminiscing in my own mind of, well, number one, it took me 3 cracks to get my license as a 16-year-old. Would you believe that in the first 2 attempts, I was speeding both times? It's an automatic fail. And that's hard to do in a small town in Saskatchewan. There are barely any stop signs. What was I doing? And then I'm thinking about this wonderful Prius that you guys just showed. Great car. I'm like, what was your first car? My first car was a 1970 LTD with a 400 cubic inch motor. We could put 11 people in that car to go to the drive-in. So everybody would throw in like $3 or $5, just enough gas to get you there and get you back, and smuggle in whatever you needed for your snacks and your beverages. I would
like to pace off your LTD in my 1983 Buick LeSabre because it would have given that one a run for its money.
I will raise you a 77 Pontiac Le Mans V8 shit brown. It was quite
But that's a cool rig.
That's a sports car, at least.
Car. Yeah.
That's a sports
You don't even, you're not in this conversation.
I'm not even in the conversation.
No.
All right.
No.
Okay. Moving right along, quite an injury-front day for the Vancouver Canucks. Dregs. Zeev Buium, Boeser, both hurt in the game against Pittsburgh. What can you tell us?
Well, if we start with Buium, I think we all saw it, the shot to the face. Best case scenario is, I think, probably a week, maybe 2 weeks. But that's upon further review and getting through all the medical work to see what's going on there. That was a scary injury. And so there's still some evaluating, but I think minimally you're looking at 10 days to 2 weeks. As for Brock Boeser, again, an unnecessary play, a dangerous play by Brian Rust, who isn't normally that type of player for the Pittsburgh Penguins, but as Ray Ferraro called it, it's an elbow to the back of the head, back of the neck. right? As an unsuspecting player, there's going to be supplemental discipline applied there. I think the early indication looks as we might expect. I'm not a doctor, not part of the medical crew of the Vancouver Canucks, but I think the suspicion is a concussion. And if that's the case, then who knows how long that's going to take to heal.
Yeah, and
His team, honestly.
Well,
yeah, can't get rid of the injury issues.
Well, they were actually getting healthier, though,
Yeah.
right? Like we were talking
Inch
about.
by
Oh,
inch.
look at this, full health or close to full
Down the
health.
middle, almost there.
Of course, outside of the goaltender Dregs, and full disclosure, as we record this,
Yeah.
Canucks set for an 11 a.m. Pacific time practice. So we'll see what Adam Foote has to say after practice, because the province reported on Friday that we are expected to get clarity on Thatcher Demko this week, whether he can play again this season or whether he'll be shut down. And the paper said that could come as soon as today. But what are you hearing, sir?
Yeah, the province doesn't need me to apply an accuracy stamp to their reporting, but that's correct. That's my understanding as well. And so let's just play the what if game. What if they do shut him down for the remainder of the year? If they do, then clearly he needs some sort of additional work. Perhaps a procedure is included. But if it allows Demko to one more time eradicate a problem, and right near the top of the list is pain. You know, if he gets to a place following whatever treatments they are taking here, whatever that path looks like, which we'll learn from the Vancouver Canucks at some point, not today, this week, and he's pain-free to go into the off-season training and getting healthy and getting strong again, then I think you do have to look at it as being a positive story, right? I mean, the Vancouver Canucks are in a position where they're not bringing in help. You know, if there's a trade that makes sense whereby you get a young NHL player or a prospect or a draft pick, okay, that's all part of the plan for the remainder of this year. But everybody knows if they could finish last overall, that would be a good thing for the Canucks as an NHL club here based on where they're situated. So why wouldn't you take advantage of the calendar, take advantage of the timeline? And if the prognosis is that whatever they plan to do is going to help Thatcher Demko get pain-free and get healthy and back in the net in time for the start of next year, then that's what they have to do, and I think that's what they will do.
And is this supposition here that it's going to solve all the issues? Like it's going to solve the Popliteus part as well? Like it's sort of, the reporting made it sound like it was all connected, and if they do this, it's going to clear it all up?
Nah, I mean, I think that's wishful thinking. You know, you do have to look back at Thatcher's medical history here that dates way, way back, pre-NHL days, right? Like this guy, he's been through some stuff, and he always finds a way to come out the other side. You know, he is a gamer, he's a fierce competitor, but no different than most structural injuries, right? One lends to the other. You know, you can fix the knee, but then the other knee starts to go a little bit because of the stress on that knee. And, oh, by the way, your knees are bad, and now your hips are bad. And that, you know what I mean? Like one thing just kind of goes. So I'm certainly not going to be the guy that said, because we don't have the physical or the medical evidence the Vancouver Canucks are looking at, nor are we in conversation with the surgeons who are going to deal with this latest issue and sell hope that this will get him back on the ice. The way it was more or less described by me, by someone not really that close, but familiar with the situation, was, again, the hope is that they correct what his significant issue is, and most importantly, allow him to be pain-free, which might help him work through whatever else might be lingering moving forward.
It's sort of the Jack Eichel theory that he wanted to go down the more difficult road, but take care of it maybe once and for all, versus, you know, something short term that gets you back, but not really back, right? So
I think so. So. That's why I look at it again, given where they're at in the standings, what the plan is for this year. Why wouldn't you do that? And not just because it's Thatcher Demko, and we can see that this guy is a legit. You know, he's a star goalie when he's healthy in the National Hockey League. I mean, that's not an exaggeration. That's the reality. But whether it's Thatcher or if it's another player who needs some work, get it done.
Marco Rossi. They said about Marco Rossi, they said he's working on something that we want to make sure it doesn't get worse. So,
Yep.
again, there should be no rush.
We are in that time of year. We are in that
healing
time of team evolution, right? That if you can shut down guys and fix things for the long term, that makes an awful lot of sense.
Well, especially when you look at the schedule too here, guys, right? I mean, it doesn't matter if you're last in the NHL or you're the Colorado Avalanche. I mean, the schedule that these players are enduring is ridiculous. It is. And everybody, nobody's making excuses. It's the same for everybody, but it's the same for the Vancouver Canucks. So these players aren't going to magically get healthy with the remaining games.
Have you heard anything more on that? They want to go to 84 games, obviously. They're going to go to 84 games. Like in these years where they have a World Cup or an Olympics, have they learned the lesson that maybe we start the season a week and a half earlier than this, and so we don't have it compressed like this? Like, has there been lessons learned, do you think?
Yes, but whether or not they're going to act off the lessons learned is another conversation entirely. 84 games, sure. I know that there are many NHL owners who would like to use the last 2 games of that 84-game schedule as play-in. You know, let's have some fun. Let's create a buzz around the NHL. So you still play an 82-game regular season, but maybe there's heightened importance on those 2, games remaining to get you to 84 so that there are more eyeballs on the sport. Anyway, I shouldn't even talk about it because that's not reality. An 84-game regular season is, but the idea of building a spectacle around those final 2 games, which has been suggested by owners, isn't going to pass the sniff test of Commissioner Bettman, along with the changing of the playoff matrix and going to conference seeding. So, they're going to play more. It's just they're going to have to start earlier because they can't go later than they do, but they're not going to change as late as they go anyway. So you have to start earlier in some capacity. And that's where you get pushback from the players, though, too, right? And this has all been talked about and agreed to in collective bargaining. Players don't want to give up more time of their summer, man. They're sitting there going, no, we worked, especially coming off an Olympic year where they've been put through a meat grinder this year. So we'll see how it all plays out.
Yeah, and I believe your colleague, Mr. LeBrun, has detailed some of this in the past in his reporting about the earlier start to the season. And I also think you're going to see load management be more of a thing in the National Hockey League, taking the cue from the NBA. Okay, let's get to Evander Kane, Dregs, because suitors identified, according to reports. Dallas, Colorado. What are you hearing?
I mean, Dallas for sure has some interest. I don't think there's any question about that. And part of me goes, okay, well, Glenn Gulletson is the head coach now of the Dallas Stars, and Gully would have been, one of the whisperers in the ear of Evander, when he was playing his best for the Edmonton Oilers. So you can make that player-coach connection immediately. But I think it goes beyond this for the Dallas Stars. You're looking at a short window for a player who's going to be an unrestricted free agent. And the cost efficiency of Evander Kane, probably a mid-round draft pick. That's likely best case scenario, isn't it? If you get a third for Evander Kane, I think you're doing really, really well. So if you're the Dallas Stars, and you're looking at some of the other options that are in play, and you go from, with all due respect to Evander, to maybe the top of the food chain now, and that's Artemi Panarin and the New York Rangers. Well, you're giving up a first, you're giving up a prospect, and maybe something else for a rental player in Artemi Panarin, assuming he's willing to waive to go to the Dallas Stars. More and more owners are getting involved and telling their managers, okay, you hold the reins to this, but when do we stop throwing our top prospects and first-round draft picks at players in chasing a Stanley Cup? We all want to win the Stanley Cup, but is there any guarantee that Artemi Panarin is going to provide a higher level of game and chance of the Dallas Stars winning than, say, Evander Kane might? And we can't answer that because the naysayers of Artemi Panarin will go, heck of a player, but geez, you wish his playoff numbers of late would be just a little bit more encouraging. So, there's interest in Evander Kane. There's no doubt about that. Anything imminent? Now, I think it's still a whisker too soon to say that, but specific to the Canucks, they always have something going on. And I asked a good source earlier today, do you anticipate getting something, bigger, smaller done between now and the February 4th roster freeze? And, the message I got back was, there's a decent chance of that. So to be determined.
Yeah, and Dallas has traded out 2 of its next 3 first-round picks, and they've only made 1 first-round pick in the last 3 years, so I can understand why it's getting a little more difficult to bear there in Texas on that. Darren, Tyler Myers opened the door a sliver to a trade and waiving his no move last week. It caught some of us, I'll put myself in this category, by surprise, because I had always been told that Tyler and his wife very much value living here in British Columbia because the care for one of their children get. Like, they're 12-year British Columbians now too, right, with the place in Kelowna.
Yeah.
But it makes some sense because he's got a full no move now, so he can control the destination as opposed to the summer when he would be subject to trade on a limited no trade clause. What are you hearing there?
The summer would make more sense, absolutely, because you do have the restrictions more or less removed. I feel like Vancouver wants to do right by Tyler Myers, though. I mean, he's been a really good soldier for the Vancouver Canucks, so I think that they'll play ball with him if it gets to the summer. As we have this conversation, I know there's been no communication with JP Barry, who represents Tyler Myers, on the idea that they would ask him to consider waiving his no move clause. And that's as we're having this conversation on January 26th. So the window is closing between now and the roster freeze, and then you've got a limited amount of time between the lifting of the freeze and March 6th. Not saying it can't happen, but and which teams are we talking about here, right? You know, Tyler is probably showing he's being polite to the media and saying the right things, but if push comes to shove, at the end of the day, and it happens in season, it's going to have to be a destination of choice for Tyler Myers to even give it any consideration. Until they make that connection with JP Barry, it's too hypothetical to really go down that path. But the summer looks more likely to me.
Have you felt any pulse on the Elias Pettersson file, which, you know, depending on the day, gets a little flare up and then or a bucket of water poured on it? And he's still playing good. He's getting points, 2 out of 3 games sort of thing. Good defensive play. Once again, shut down Sidney Crosby. I mean, what do you think the Canucks mindset is at, and the player as well?
Well, was it 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago? We talked about that on the podcast, on the show here. And the messaging I was getting at that point was that it was possible. Didn't say likely. It was possible based on communications, some interest. Sources around Carolina acknowledged that, yeah, they had some interest, maybe less than they've had in previous years, but still some interest. Reason to have talks with the Canucks. I checked on it over the weekend. That interest now is less than it was then. Not just by Carolina, but generally speaking. Mm-hmm. So I'd put him in the category of unlikely. I don't know where we have him on the TSN trade bait board. I think last week I acknowledged that he's probably too high, and that might have been in the top 10. So I'd be surprised if he doesn't drop another notch. I mean, he's playing okay. He's playing fine, but you've got to have a partner to make a trade like that with a contract like that, and it seems unlikely at this stage.
All right, marvelous stuff, my friend. Thank you for this, Dregs. We got one more week here before the Olympic roster freeze, and then short runway to the trade deadline.
Yeah, a lot of gasoline coming
after
here.
That. Thank you for this.
There'll always be something to talk about.
So here's some price from the historic Wall Center this next block. Brought to you by Levelware. Golf having a major moment right now, and not just in the traditional sense. Used to feel buttoned up. Has become way more cultural. You're seeing athletes from all sports, even surfers, using it as a way to hang out, just enjoy the game differently. And that shift is exactly where Hurley's collaboration with Levelware comes in. Hurley brings that laid-back board sports energy, and the collection pulls inspiration from Hawaiian and coastal prints, relaxed, expressive, rooted in lifestyle. Levelware takes that inspiration, brings it to life through performance-driven, sustainably made apparel. Actually built to move and play. The result, the Fairwaves collection. Modern golf silhouettes that feel lighter, more wearable, less rigid. It's respectful of the game's roots, but definitely not stuck in tradition. This collection is live, available on Levelware's website. Go to levelware.com. Check out the polos, hoodies, hats, casuals. That's levelware.com. Someone's
going to be looking tropical on the course this year.
Oh, love it. Here comes Jeff Paterson, our Canucks reporter, the host of RInkWide Vancouver, after a busy weekend with a couple of games. How are you, Jeff?
Feeling tropical. How about that? Why not? Just got to get me one of those polos.
Yeah, exactly. At -2 degrees in Vancouver today, we're feeling.
You're both going somewhere hot, somewhere very shortly. So
so are you.
You're lucky.
Let's start with the Yellow Dog poll question, Jeff. They're 8 points, by 8 points, the worst team in the NHL. Are you confident they've got last place locked up here, buddy?
Yeah, absolutely. In fact, I took to social media yesterday to point out that the dream of the 100-point season is dead. They, with the results here now, there's 30 games to go. They got 39 points. You do the math there, that's 99 maximum. And look, from the second month of the season, I think we recognized that this wasn't going to be a 100-point team. But I think it's instructive here. With 30 games to go, they can't reach 100. So you start to, even if they went 15-15 over the final 30, which I don't think they'll do, that would get them to 69 points. So we're looking at something. They're on pace for 61.5 points right now and have one win in their last 14 hockey games. The other part is there's 30 games to go and they've got 30 regulation losses. Well, like, are we headed for a 50 regulation loss season? I mean, it's certainly like that's the track that they are on right now. So last, absolutely plant their flag in the ground now.
I've been of the mind, Jeff, they should just like cave for the next few weeks and be 20 points clear. And then people can cheer on wins the rest of the way because you'll know that cushion has been developed, and then you can just have fun and cheer on whatever results. But right now, at the very least, they are putting up the perfect tank games, aren't they? Over the weekend, those are two, again, pretty perfect tank games. They have high moments. There's something to hold on to within the game, and yet they lose, both of them.
Yeah, I thought the New Jersey game was like right from the perfect playbook. I mean, that was fun. There were a lot of goals. There was a bunch of things happening in that hockey game. And yeah, they were plucky to the end. The Pittsburgh game, I mean, again, falling behind 3-0, spotting all these teams, these big leads. And I know they came back to beat Washington. Shame on the Capitals for allowing that to happen. But again, they're not good enough. They don't score enough. And to fall behind 3-0 and Adam Foote again lamenting this idea that they're so fragile and they can't handle falling behind by a goal or two, and then they kind of spiral and collapse from there. We've heard that from the coach a bunch of times here lately, and he's not wrong. And so in some ways it's easy to play when you're down 3-0. Like at that point, whatever, just go out and, give it your best shot. And that's what they've done. Although this time they got back, there were 6 minutes to go still, and it was a 3-2 hockey game. So there were moments, I suppose, along the way for the Vancouver Canucks. But I mean, people want to see an effort. I think they want to be entertained. I would suggest that they were in both games, a little more in the Jersey game on Friday than the Sunday game. But there were certainly a couple hundred people in the building in the Kindel suite there that enjoyed themselves thoroughly on Sunday. So hey, their ticket price matters too. Canucks get their money in the back pocket. Great showing and a great story, obviously, to see Ben Kindel come home and do what he did. And a reminder that, young players can produce in this league when put in the right spots. And so as much as we're all looking at the development of the Canucks young players, pretty incredible to see Ben Kindel at 18 years of age pop a couple of goals, including the game winner.
Let me ask you about Buium, Jeff, because sounds like he's going to miss some time now, but that gorgeous goal, or at least the gorgeous move on Friday to create that goal. What's been your synopsis? What's been your evaluation of Buium's play here as a Vancouver Canuck?
I've been more underwhelmed than others. And I think a lot of fans, they're looking so hard to find the positives right now. And when the guy scores and has a point on the 2 goals in his Canuck debut in that Jersey game, you're thinking, well, hey, he's going to step right in and, fill the needs that now that Quinn Hughes is no longer here. Hadn't scored since, and then scores the other night against Jersey. And so both of his goals as a Canuck have come against the New Jersey Devils. Now, on the goal, loved that. Absolutely loved the heads-up play to cut down the wall and then hard to the middle and follow up his own shot and get his rebound. Like, there was a lot to like in that sequence. That said, Sunday was a rough afternoon for Zeev. Now, some of it maybe stems from the fact that he took the puck in the face in the first period and wasn't himself, but a terrible pinch that led to the 2-on-1 on the Evgeny Malkin goal. If you're going to pinch, you have to make that play. Like, otherwise, it blows up in your face as it did there. And then on the second Kindel goal, the 3-0 goal, Justin Brazeau puts the puck right through Buium, who doesn't take the man nor the puck, and Brazeau is able to get around him and set up Kindel for the goal from distance. And so, in a 3-2 hockey game, you can look at two of the goals and one player in particular. It was not a banner afternoon. Again, willing to cut him some slack if we now find out that maybe he shouldn't have been playing at all after the puck to the face. So you have to learn to live with the mistakes of young players. You remind yourself that he's only 20 years of age, and that through his foibles and some of the defensive miscues, and we've seen a bunch of them here in the month of January, it was still on pace for somewhere around 32 or 33 points as a 20-year-old rookie in the National Hockey League, which is nothing to sneeze at, especially on a low-scoring team like the Vancouver Canucks. So you can see the promise. I guess I'm a little bit concerned about the defensive side of his game, and that's where I think the points will flow naturally because he's gifted offensively. But if he's going to have a long and prosperous career in the National Hockey League, he is going to have to learn from these mistakes and tighten things up defensively. But you could say that about just about any young defenseman in the National Hockey League.
I also think, and I've been saying this since the day he arrived, he's going to be living in the shadow of Quinn Hughes here. Traded for Quinn Hughes. I think we can't help but subconsciously just compare him to the opening year of Quinn Hughes in a Canucks uniform and be like, well, this isn't Quinn Hughes. Well, no, it's not. Like, nobody is Quinn Hughes. So, if the Canucks had drafted this player and dropped him in as a 20-year-old, I think people would have been going out of their minds before they'd ever seen Quinn Hughes. But unfortunately, it all pales, right?
Yeah, for sure. And I think that's important context. And I wrote a Canucks mailbag at Canucks Army this morning, and somebody asked about comparables for Zeev Buium when he, fully matures and arrives in the National Hockey League. And, I was starting to look at players, a guy like Thomas Chabot in Ottawa, who is far from a perfect player, but has offense cooked into his game, and you live with some of his mistakes. I think on the high end, if he could become a Morgan Rielly, who still at this stage of his career, I see people in Toronto throwing darts at his defensive game, but he's had a couple of big offensive seasons. I don't know if Zeev Buium gets to those levels. I kind of arrived at a Cam Fowler who's played 1,000 games in the National Hockey League, has regularly been a 40, 45, 50-point producer at times. Like, I don't think Zeev Buium's getting anywhere close to Quinn Hughes in 90-point seasons. I just don't think that's who he is. He doesn't appear to have a big shot, so I don't see him being a big-time goal-scoring threat. I think he's going to be a guy that picks up points with his hockey smarts and on the power play, the way that he skates, all those types of things. But yeah, I do sort of want to slow the roll of people that think, well, he replaced Quinn Hughes, therefore he has to be, 75 or 80 points to truly make this trade work. There's just not many guys in the NHL that get to that level as a defenseman. And so I would sort of temper the expectations ultimately on what Zeev Buium can become. And he can still be a wild success for the Vancouver Canucks, even if it's, regularly producing somewhere in the neighborhood of 45 or 50 points every season.
The blue line could be fun in a couple of years' time with a couple more years of experience for Buium and Willander. There's add Hronek to that mix too. Those three guys can move the puck. Like, they're with some skill, with some forwards to link up with Jeff. Like, that could be fun in the future.
Yeah, and I think that's one area that the Canucks look at and think, all right, I know you guys discussed last week, there's questions right now around Victor Mancini and where he profiles and projects, but, we haven't seen Sawyer Minio yet at the National Hockey League level. Kirill Kudratsev had his cup of coffee late. Like, there are guys down in the minors that are still doing good things, even though it's a tough slog for Abbotsford this season as well. So organizationally right now, yeah, I would think that defense and goaltending, now we thought that was going to be the strength of the big league team this season. Not so much, but I do think if you step back, organizationally, the Canucks still believe that they've got some goalies in the pipeline and that they've got some untapped potential still at the defense position. So now it's about going out and finding those elite level scorers that they are lacking. And I suppose that's at the top of the wish list for the management group here heading into the offseason.
Alan Walsh shut down any kind of trade talk around Philip Hronek. Jeff, your 2 cents on Philip Hronek sticking around, at least so it sounds, through the rebuild.
Yeah, I'm not surprised. He negotiated a contract that puts him in full control of the situation, and seems pretty happy with the opportunity that he's getting. And certainly since the trade of Quinn Hughes, his ice time has gone up. His production rate has basically stayed even, or fewer games. He's almost at the same number of points that he had during the time that Quinn was here in those first 31 games. So team MVP without a doubt. He's been their best player. He's been their most consistent player. I think that's, for me, the most impressive thing is, while so many other guys have gone into these tailspins at different points of the season, he has managed to maintain a level of consistency that really has been impressive. And I know you guys discussed the notion of him being the next captain last week, and people would look and say, oh, well, there's no way that JPat thinks that he should be the captain of the Canucks. Go for it. If they want to name him the captain, I'm fine with that. I think way too much is made of the ability to stand in front of a microphone, quite frankly, for the reasons that have been well documented, that there just aren't many microphones in this market anymore. And so it really isn't an onerous challenge. Now, he has been brought out a couple of times recently. He scored the winning goal in their first win in forever. And so, he is part of the leadership group. I wasn't surprised that he was made available after the Washington game. I saw that he went and did a visit to Canuck Place the following day as well. So whether that is all part of an organizational design, I don't know. But I think the fact that he scored the winner in their first victory in forever, it just made sense that he would be one of the guys that was asked to do some media afterwards. But again, I think he can handle the media stuff. He just chooses not to. And for the most part, we have given him his space and his distance there. My frustration that day at year end, whatever it was, 2.5 years ago, was that when you sit at a podium with a microphone on media day, you have to be expected to face a couple of questions. And I just don't think he tried very hard that day. And that was my frustration then. And, whatever. I have no ill will towards Philip Hronek. Again, I've been really impressed with the way that this guy's played. And so clearly in the locker room, his voice carries some weight. His teammates seem to enjoy his company and his right sense of humor. And then when it's go time, he gets his game face on and the guy just shows up and plays hard. And so I think on a lot of levels, he checks off a bunch of boxes. If they make him the next captain of the Vancouver Canucks, I won't be shocked.
Wow. I would be.
Took a ceremonial face-off, too.
Yeah.
Marker.
Captain's duties.
Evander Kane, if they get a third-round pick for him, should they be happy, tickety-boo, and go running off?
Third round, wow.
What do you think,
I was
Jeff?
Say, wow, where are they getting this third-round pick from?
Dallas or Colorado, apparently, are the interested parties.
Yeah, but man, if they can get more for him than they paid for him, good on them. I know he showed a little bit of offensive flash here the last week, scored a couple of goals. One was a very fortunate bounce off a defenseman's skate, but they all count ultimately. It's just been such an underwhelming season for him. Expected more physically, expected more snarl, expected a little bit more offense, obviously. And I know nobody on this team has produced a ton of offense. So, yeah, if they could turn Evander Kane at this stage into a third-round draft pick, absolutely. Take that and run to the bank. I would think that, in my mind, I was sort of thinking if they could flip him and just recoup the fourth rounder that they traded away, or you don't have to settle for a fifth rounder, if you could get something for him. But, boy, if you could get up to a third-round pick, yeah, I would take that in a heartbeat.
Is he playing better than his last three games, or is he just is it just bouncing?
He had a good week.
Well, the underlying
better
numbers
week.
Kind. They got crushed in a couple of the games. Now, on Friday night, we learned after the fact that both DeBrusk and EP40 were under the weather. Jake DeBrusk didn't play an awful lot. We thought maybe it was a coach's decision, and then Adam Foote said after the game, no, there was some thought that DeBrusk might not play. So they were up against it in that regard as a line. And yesterday, that line ended up taking on a fair bit of the Sidney Crosby matchup and held their own. Sid was a pretty quiet afternoon for him, all things considered, but his team gets the win, and I guess that's what matters most. So, have I seen an uptick from Evander Kane? I don't know that I can get that far. I think he benefited from a nice bounce against the Washington Capitals. He did have a big hit on Matthew Schaefer in the Islanders. The Islanders game was, I think, maybe the best he's looked all season. And that came in the wake of the Kiefer Sherwood trade. And I thought, hey, maybe this is a guy that recognizes that he could be next. And maybe he was trying to sort of juice his value. So I would say he was better against the Islanders than he was in any of the games that have followed here this week. But again, the bar's pretty low. And so, yes, there were some signs of life from Evander Kane. And we'll see if we see more of that in the games ahead here.
On Brock Boeser, and it sounds like he's going to miss some time. Concussion suspected there after the dirty elbow from Brian Rust. I see a lot of Canucks fans going, where was the response from his teammates? To that, you would say what, Jeff?
That I've heard that question several times over the last bunch of years, that this is a team that's just not cut out for that sort of response, even if you want to look at the Wolfpack mentality. Final seconds of a game, so you've got offensive guys out there. They're not built to be terribly combative. It's one of those things where, and this isn't really to let players off the hook, but I don't know how many saw ultimately, it's a wild scramble in front of the net. They're all looking for the puck and tying goal. I don't know how many actually saw what happened, probably heard the collision. It's unfortunate. I mean, we saw Tanner Jeannot with the cheap shot on Brock and left him with a concussion last season, and now here we'll wait to see what happens. But yeah, I mean, look, I'm always of the opinion that the league's body is called the Department of Player Safety, and I don't think Brock Boeser feels particularly safe in that situation if Brian Rust taking it upon himself. And again, it's desperation, and he's trying to clear out the house, but there are different ways to do it, and ways to do it within the rules of the game. And so it felt like a cheap shot. I don't think of Brian Rust necessarily as that kind of player, but opportunity presented itself, and he got a pretty good knock on Brock Boeser. So I've said for a while, I mean, last year, Rick Tocchet of all people, I would have thought he would have wanted a team that employed a few guys that were cut from his cloth, and Adam Foote played the game as ruggedly as anybody in his day as well. At some point, like, I know the game has changed, but it's still a physical contact sport, and it's just one of those things that, for me, has been sorely lacking from the Vancouver Canucks lineup for far too long now.
Week ahead, Jeff, what are you looking at as the Canucks conclude this 8-game homestand with a 3-pack of games?
Well, Macklin Celebrini, worth the price of admission, had 17 shot attempts alone when the Sharks were here in that first game after Christmas. Unbelievable the things that he is doing. He's opened a 40-point lead on Tyler Toffoli and Alex Wenberg in team scoring. You just marvel at and so if people haven't had a chance to see him in person, I'm sure there's tickets available. There always are these days. So Macklin's in on Tuesday night. The Anaheim Ducks have turned things back in the right direction. They're in Edmonton tonight, but I think they're on a 7-game win streak. So Ducks are starting to play well again, and that'll be a challenge for the Vancouver Canucks on Thursday. And then it's always fun. Doesn't matter if the Canucks are at the top of the standings, bottom of the standings. It's the Leafs on a Saturday afternoon, and we saw the overwhelming presence of Oilers fans 2 Saturdays ago. I would think it'll be every bit that and maybe more when the Leafs make their one and only visit of the season on Saturday. So expect to see Canuck fans, peddling their tickets, trying to make a little money on the side. And I would think it will be a heavy, heavy Leafs presence in there for the game on Saturday.
Willie Nylander getting healthy, though. He showed us that his fingers.
He's number one.
He's might be available.
Other thing I'll say, I mean, by quirk of schedule this year, the Canucks are playing like 38 home games when you consider the Leafs, Oilers, Habs all coming to town and taking over the building.
Well, and Jeff, we've been chronicling the trade deadline is also the 1-year anniversary of the last time the Canucks won back-to-back home games. They are running out of candidates to create back-to-back wins on home ice. They need to start winning here this week in order to consummate that by the trade deadline.
Yeah, that home record is just unbelievable. I mean, 5-16-3, and just we all know the story. And only 4 of those wins in regulation time. So 4 regulation wins in 24 hockey games in front of the paying customers at Rogers Arena. I don't know about you guys. It just feels now like the race is on for these 5 games to the Olympic break. And we all sort of need to step back and just exhale. And then we'll pick up on the other side and 25 after that. But it's a tough watch these days. And, again, San Jose and Anaheim will not be easy contests for the Vancouver Canucks.
No, and if they don't get consecutive home wins this week, then they've got March 2nd and 4th, Dallas, Carolina, and then that second 8-game homestand. And then they do not play consecutive home games in April. So, yes, they basically have 2 more opportunities after this one, the 8-game homestand.
And if you guys So this 8-game homestand was star-studded, right? And on the other side, like almost every night, there was a reason to watch the opponents.
Mm-hmm.
That next 8-game homestand,
Not so
Ottawa,
star-studded.
Seattle, Nashville, Los Angeles,
St. Louis, the two Florida teams in Anaheim.
That's the redeeming. Yeah, the two Florida teams in Anaheim are the redeeming games. The rest of them,
I mean, I guess. Have a good week. Have a good week on RInkWide. We'll catch up later. Friday. Thanks, Jeff.
Sounds good, guys. Thanks.
Secured some price from the historic Wall Center, the Pacific Toyota Dealer Studio, built by Arbor Lee. The real win happens after the final buzzer. Stay downtown, stay comfortable, stay close to everything. At Sheraton Vancouver Wall Center, your game day home base starts at wallcenter.com. Well, the matchup for Super Bowl 60 in San Francisco, or Santa Clara, if you want to be precise, is set with the Seattle Seahawks facing the New England Patriots after the Hawks beat the LA Rams in a thrilling NFC Championship game. Everybody was predicting this one to be a really close down-to-the-wire game, right, Blake?
yeah, I think so.
I said I'd eat crow with Seahawks fans if the Rams didn't win and, quote, make it look easy. So here I am eating crow.
You put a little Montreal steak spice on that. You're doing a little lemon and herb.
Well, I mean, crow really needs to be seasoned. Everybody knows this.
Yes, yeah. It's a little game.
Frequent crow eater, actually. Yeah. Seahawks win 31-27, take the trilogy and dispatch their arch rival at a joyous Lumen Field, and of course also won the trilogy against their other arch rival in the NFC West, the San Francisco 49ers, in the divisional round. So, you know, if you're writing the script, this is how it's supposed to be.
Is there any excuse there? Cooper Kupp catch, what did you think of it? He's a runner?
Mm-hmm.
Or does he need to have control of the ball?
I'm going to have to see it again.
I mean,
I watched it in a house of I told you there were 7 children there. There was a lot going on.
When you're watching the catch,
mm-hmm.
you're tempted to say he needs to survive the fall. But if you roll it back, I mean, he takes 2 steps with the ball.
If you take 2 steps with the ball, then
he's a runner.
You have made an act, quote, common to the game. And yes, you at that point control. Possession has already been established.
So then you don't need to survive the ground.
No.
As soon as his butt and knee are down, you're down.
Oh, okay. Now that I see it again, that's a no-brainer. Anybody who thinks that is a fumble doesn't know football. No.
Yeah, a fair
that's
amount
not even close.
Of Rams fans upset about that.
No.
And I think after the Brandon Cooks catch, I think everybody's a little sensitive.
Yeah. Now,
but it was a catch.
if he bounces off the Rams defender and doesn't actually contact the ground, then he is not down by contact, and that's still alive. But no, he does contact the ground.
Yeah.
There. Come on. That's just sour grapes.
That's what I think.
Well, I mean, I said it last week with the in the Bears game. I said no, they got that call right as well. On top of
they usually do. Let's face it.
Well, and they have now a command center that's able to help them out here.
By the way, what I enjoyed about that game, there was very few flags.
It was a well played game. Like outside of punt returning, it was a well played game.
The first half especially had like a handful of flags. It was great.
It's the 4th time in franchise history Seattle will play for the NFL championship, and they'll do so against an AFC opponent with whom they have a score to settle. More on New England and the quote-unquote rematch here in a minute. But first, I got to give Sam Darnold his flowers. I'm not a believer.
Yeah.
Haven't been a believer. At this stage of the game, though, I think he's got a better team with him, and I suspect he'll be a Super Bowl winning quarterback. And Blake, that would make 2 years in a row with quarterbacks that I just never thought would be good enough to lead their teams to Super Bowls, at least not without, historic defenses and Jalen Hurts and Sam Darnold. The fact of the matter is we've been talking about the Seahawks. If their defense isn't historic, then it's a notch below. Now, they weren't good yesterday.
No.
But Darnold,
human yesterday.
25 for 36 for 346, 3 touchdowns, no turnovers, outdoes Matthew Stafford, who has a big game in his own right. Look at the tweet here from Capadia, 91st percentile game based on EPA per pass. Seahawks defense gave up 479 yards. And the final statement here is absolutely spot on. If Darnold doesn't play great, they don't win that game. And it truly is one of the craziest careers for a quarter. I mean, you're getting like Jim Plunkett vibes here in terms of a once high draft pick that was left for dead, comes back and has a second act, although in Darnold's case, it's like a third act based on the success he had, at least regular season-wise, with Minnesota.
I'm just looking, Matt, people have made some derisive comments of making the Trent Dilfer sort of comparisons.
He was always better than Dilfer, but okay.
I mean, just to put that into perspective, though. So 346 and 3 touchdowns this week alone. Trent Dilfer, in going 4-0 to win the Super Bowl.
Yes.
590, 3 touchdowns. He's already, this week alone, tied him with Dilfer for touchdown passes.
Agreed.
And got him way past the halfway point for yards. So, it's not that. It's not that.
I would argue the Seahawks defense is not quite that Ravens defense.
Right. No, that's fair too. But
hey, look, sometimes the offense is going to pick up the defense. Sometimes the defense is going to pick up the offense. And, of course, they got a huge helping hand in special teams yesterday with that Rams punt.
And the weird thing is he says he's never practiced less for a game in his entire life.
Well, he's grimacing on the sidelines, Blake.
Well, Mike McDonald said on the coach's show today, he said he and Charles Cross are very sore. So if I'm the Seahawks, those guys don't do anything besides the exercise bike for the next 7 days. Mm-hmm. Like, don't pick up a glass of milk for 7 days.
Well, I mean, that's why I was so bullish on the Rams in this game. I'm like, okay, you've got a quarterback who has never done it at this level, who's got an oblique injury. You got a starting left tackle who has 3 injuries going on in Charles Cross. You lost your best pass protecting running back in Zach Charbonnet, and really, Blake, 25 carries for 75 yards. They did not really run the football. I mean, the Rams ran the football. Mm-hmm. They didn't really run the football. But they got it done, and full credit to them, and full credit to John Schneider, the Seahawks general manager, who becomes the first GM in NFL history to reach multiple Super Bowls with the same organization while having a new head coach and a full
not a carryover player.
Not a single carryover player.
No.
Now, typically, it's because GMs go to a Super Bowl with a head coach and a roster of players, and they don't survive until the next competitive cycle. But here's John Schneider, the NFL Executive of the Year, who's got a chance to win a second Super Bowl ring as the builder of Seahawks teams.
Matt, I'm also thinking, just as Seahawks fans, if you moved here in 2000 or were born 2000, you've seen almost a handful now of Super Bowl appearances. Like, Seahawks fans, the 12s have been spoiled here.
This will be a fourth.
Like, that's
there's not in 06 against Pittsburgh in Super Bowl 40.
Like, what's the list of teams that can compete with that since 2000?
New England.
Yeah, I know, but it's a short list.
It's a very short list.
Pretty lucky in this part of the world to witness 4 Super Bowls.
And this graphic is getting, well, they've only won one of them, though. So.
Yeah, that's true. But if they win this one, it's 2 for 4. That's fair.
That's right.
Yeah.
And this graphic is getting a lot of run. It was put out by the NFL before the season. And people are saying, look, there it was right there in front of us. First row, Sam Darnold and Drake May, side by each, staring at the Super Bowl stadium. Now, I have a feeling they wanted to highlight the guys in the foreground there.
Yes.
Saquon, Mahomes, Burrow, Purdy,
TJ
Watt,
Baker
and
Mayfield also high up there. Who else there?
But good on them. Patriots win an ugly duckling AFC championship game in snowy Denver. So we were going over to our friend's house for the Seahawks game, so I made sure we were leaving like 2-minute warning of the first half, a 45-minute drive or so, make sure we got there to see the end of the AFC game. When we left, it was a beautiful, crisp, cold day in Denver, clear. I sat down to watch the fourth quarter. It was a snow globe. Holy cow.
I reverse engineered this. I saw the final score, and then I went to seek highlights. I said, it was a snow game.
Yeah.
And then I saw another highlight where it was grass, and I was like, the first half, I guess it was. I'm like, no, that's his third quarter. Still grass.
It was unbelievable. Unbelievable.
And then ankle deep by the end of the game.
Oh, God.
Yeah.
I mean, to the point where everything was a challenge. Footing, ball handling, kicking. I thought Sean Payton made a big mistake not kicking that field goal to go up 10-0 in the first half. Fourth down gamble and failed, and I understand what the analytics say there. I also think, again, the analytics don't always take all the factors at play. This was bound to be a low-scoring game. I'm sure the Denver Broncos people knew weather was coming later in the game. I thought a 10-point lead would be huge in a defensive low-scoring game when you've got a backup quarterback like Jarrett Stidham and probably cannot count on a ton of points from there. Although I'll give Stidham credit. He looked very good in the first quarter. Played exactly how he needed to play early in this game. And, of course, the Broncos missed several kicks in this game, and they missed one late to tie. It was partially blocked. Will Lutz, their kicker, said he had never kicked in snow before.
What?
I do think if you're going to play in an outdoor stadium in Denver, Chicago,
how do you
the
train
cold
for that,
Green
though?
Bay, you probably need to look at those kickers who have the cold weather experience kicking in outdoor college stadiums late in the year.
As if you're in Broncos management, yes.
Yeah. I mean, New England missed a kick too, but they were not easy conditions. But the one to go up 10-0 was in crystal clear blue skies in the first half. I thought that was a mistake from Sean Payton. New England gets back to the Super Bowl 7 years after Belichick and Brady won their sixth together. It's also, as we mentioned, I'm not using rematch, and there's no players in common here. It's a redux of Super Bowl 49 when, of course, Seattle's second and dumb pass to the end zone in the final minute intercepted by Malcolm Butler to clinch the victory for the Patriots.
Yeah, I think especially the way Kenneth Walker was a monster yesterday. If they are inside the 5-yard line, please run the ball.
Yeah.
Please.
62 yards on 19 carries.
Oh, a couple of big moments, though. The yards after contact.
Yeah.
And
he caught 4 balls for 50 yards as well. So good on him. Oh, yeah. Honestly, I was a little surprised that there wasn't better tackling in the front seven on both sides.
There was some really bad tackling by Seattle.
There was some really bad tackling, both sides, both defenses.
A couple of times Seahawks went ball hunting. They went for the punch rather than the tackle, and you just gave first downs away.
And, I mean, the two superstar receivers here in this game did not disappoint. Jackson Smith and Jigba, 10 catches, $153 and a touchdown. And Puka, 9 catches, 165 and a TD.
And Rashid Shaheed got his moment in the
sun,
too.
He sure did with a 51-yard catch. So, no, that was a fun game, befitting a conference championship game with two very good teams and an excellent ball game with, I would argue, more points than I think a lot of people expected at 31-27. Pittsburgh Steelers hire ex-Dallas and Green Bay head coach Mike McCarthy, just the 4th head coach in their history since the NFL merger. He's a Pittsburgh guy. His dad owned a bar in the city. And he once coached Aaron Rodgers in Green Bay, where they won a Super Bowl. Now, there were reports the 42-year-old quarterback would not be back in Steel Town. But with McCarthy, have those skids been greased? Is there a pathway back for Aaron Rodgers to play?
Do you want that for the Steelers? Like, if you're the Steelers, do you want it?
Your pick is late in the first round. Where else are you getting the quarterback? Unless it's a trade or it's in free agency.
Well, as we have seen, there will be a good quarterback available late first round. There still will be. There will be.
Or on the reclamation pile.
Right. Get your Sam Darnold. Exactly. Get yourself a Sam Darnold.
Now, of course, if Pittsburgh does not sign one or draft one, you know how this is going to go, right? A long, drawn-out courtship. The NFL's drama king with his they love me not, plucking of the daisy.
You just offer him a healthy amount of money and all you can eat ayahuasca, and he'll be there.
Football north of the border, BC Lions release all-star linebacker Micah Awe from his 4th tour with the team. He was the CFL PA all-star this year. was deemed expendable after they signed former All-Star ex-Montreal Alouette Darnell Sankey. They re-signed Ben Haddock of Vernon as well. Of course, Awe 32 led the CFL in tackles with 114 this past season and brought that physicality. Like Rig made it, and the general manager talked about being a more physical team, and Micah, of course, amongst the most physical players in the league. So it seems like they feel they're good there or have gotten
That will be an analyzed
there.
move, though. That will be an analyzed move.
Oh, yeah.
You know,
well, especially because the CFLPA voted, so his peers voted him an all-star where the writers and the reporters did not. CFL free agency begins next week. The line still with both offensive tackles, Dejon Allen and Jarrell Broxton, set to hit the open market. And then there was this, and this is being viewed in the light of, okay, but you told me that you had to make rule changes because teams were losing money. CFL recorded a $10 million revenue growth this season. So much so the salary cap is increasing by a couple $100,000. Cap's going to be more than $6.28 million this year. And the last 3 years, the revenue growth has been $31 million. Tells me Randy Ambrosie did okay in his final 2 years, and Stuart Johnson did pretty good in his first year. Commissioner Johnson also saying he is not inclined to remove the staff cap for clubs. As you may know, a number of years ago, the CFL went and capped the amount of money you're allowed to spend on coaches. He says he's aware of the attrition rate there, that they lose coaches because of this, but he values the cost certainty.
The Owls had to release Austin Mack because he had a big bonus coming. Do the Lions wade into that, or their receiving core good enough?
There's Tim White in Hamilton, 4 straight 1,000-yard seasons, also released. Those are 2 very good players.
Yeah, you can rehabilitate your receiving core immediately there.
Lions receiving core is
it's
pretty.
fine.
Yeah, I mean, Hatcher led the league in receiving.
Yeah.
Right. I think you feel good about the 2 Canadian slot backs you have there. If you think they're healthy, I think you feel very good about McInnes and Cotoy. Eberhard is still a free agent as well. So,
yeah, if you're not bringing back Eberhard, then
where I'm at with the Lions is, what's your plan at offensive tackle? Because when they're healthy, Broxton and Allen are fantastic. Now, Allen wasn't as healthy this year coming over from the Argos as I think they hoped he would be. But, that's an easy way for everything to go wrong if you can't block edge rushers and your quarterback's under fire, especially this quarterback, who is, of course, the best one in the league. Vancouver Whitecaps FC with a reported signing, Bruno Caicedo. And the reporting here is from our buddy Manuel Veth of Transfer Market, saying the Ecuadorian will sign a 4.5-year deal with the club and occupy the club's 3rd and final U22 initiative player slot. So just explain the U22 initiative player slot for a second, because there's 2 ways you can go about structuring an MLS roster when it comes to the more handsomely paid players.
So if you're bringing in highly paid younger players, they don't count as a DP. They're like a bonus DP slot, essentially. So you can pay them above the DP line, but they don't count as a DP as long as they're young enough, which Bruno Caicedo is.
And you get 3 of these players in addition to 2 DPs. Is that
it's 3 and 3 or 2 and 4, I believe.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So we'll see. But they've also got a ton of GAM, so they could probably pay down somebody like a Kubas to get a DP slot free too.
GAM is general allocation money. It allows you to reduce the salaries of your highest paid guys and get them under these thresholds of U22 and DP.
Yeah.
Caicedo's a 21-year-old right winger / midfielder who was playing in the Ecuadorian Serie A for a team named Barcelona SC. That's
confusing.
Barcelona SC in Ecuadorian Serie A, not Barcelona FC in La Liga or a team in Italian Serie A.
He's an interesting player. Went down the rabbit hole on him, and this is maybe expected of a player of this age. He gets into the box with the ball a ton. He gets shots away, like at a furious rate, near the top of his league.
Exciting player.
He does not score a ton.
No, I noticed that as well. Not a ton of goal contributions.
But like his percentile for shots and shots on target is near the top.
You know what?
Needs to score.
Muller's going to fix him. The
Yeah,
the Raumditer is going to tell him, I like the way you Raum and dite. But here's the thing. What's his name? Bruno. Here's where you should be shooting, Bruno. Here's where there will be passes available to you for goals, and you get the assist.
But hey, finishing is a savvy veteran thing
Indeed.
for the most part, so it's not surprising.
Canada is getting Marcelo Flores. The Mexican national team manager, Javier Aguirre, said, "We spoke with him, and his decision is fair. Remember, these are personal decisions and must be respected. He decided to play for Canada. I wish him the best. He is a good kid." TSN's Matthew Shinetti reporting that Flores, the 22-year-old, grew up in Georgetown, Ontario, so just outside of Toronto. The decision came late last week. The paperwork process is underway. He's a 22-year-old attacking midfielder, plays for Mexican giant Tigres. He actually spent some time with Arsenal of the English Premiership in 2020, was named one of the Guardian's next generation of best young players around the world 6 years ago. Now, I'm not sure he quite hit on that sort of promise. I think we would know by now.
He's 22 and a half, so there's still lots of growth available.
Right.
But yeah, he's not going to be able to catch up to that projection, obviously. But he's a fun player. He has scored a couple of highlight reel goals already in Liga MX. And if he can be, he's played wide as well. But if he can be an attacking midfielder, like they have options. Ishmael Kone's a nice player. Like they have options, but nobody has seized the brass ring to be an attacker alongside Stefan Eustachio in the middle. If he can be that guy, Matt, that's pretty
and there are
exciting.
rumblings around an Eustachio transfer as well, which we talked about last week. He's got to get out of Porto because he's just not playing there. As for Flores, made the bench, never made it on the pitch for Arsenal. He's played 19 times for Mexico, including 3 at the senior international level. Victoria Mboko caps off a very nice Aussie Open for her. Impressive run. Got to the 4th round, lost to world number 1 Irina Sabalenka. She battled back from 4-1 down in the second set. She staved off 3 match points, got it to a tiebreaker. Sadly, she got bludgeoned in the tiebreaker. But for a teenager, and like the tennis world is saying, this is a future Grand Slam winner. It's written all over her game, all over her attitude, all over her results in the last year. She was the last Canadian standing in the singles draws down under. So one to watch for the French Open in May, and of course,
and remember, made it to the final of the warm-up, the Adelaide Invitational before the Aussie Open.
And won the Canadian Open last year out of nowhere.
She is on a roll.
Yeah. Scottie Scheffler wins the American Express Championship in Palm Springs.
He is Thanos. He is inevitable.
It was his 20th career PGA Tour victory. Players to win 20-plus times on the PGA Tour, including 4 or more majors before age 30, modern era, Jack Nicklaus, Tiger Woods, Scottie Scheffler. That's it. That's the list. So you're standing with the 2 GOATs.
He won the tournament by 4 strokes, Matt, which is very tough to do at a tournament like this where everybody's getting birdies.
There were a ton of birdies to be made on this course. Now, they do play 3 separate courses in the first, second, and third rounds. A couple of those courses are a tad bit easier than the stadium course Pete Dye designed that they play the final round. But no, you're right. You have to go very low to win this championship. There were a lot of guys putting up huge or low numbers, including a teenage American
Teenage
kid.
60.
Yeah, who shot a 60. But yes.
Scheffler's high round of the week was 68. That was his worst round.
Yeah, and if you don't include the Ryder Cup, where he was abysmal, Scottie has lost to just 8 guys in the last 6 months. He finished 3rd in Memphis behind J.J. Spawn and Justin Rose. He finished 4th at the Tour Championship behind Tommy Fleetwood, Russell Henley, Patrick Cantley. And he finished 3rd at the Hero behind Seb Straka, Alex Noren, and Hideki Matsuyama. That's it. 8 guys. He has lost to 8 guys in the last 6 months, Blake.
It's crazy. Too bad for Nick Taylor, by the way. He
Yeah,
had one bad round. If that one bad round is equivalent to his other rounds, he's finishing second probably.
Taylor ties for 27th at 17 under. Coquitlam's AJ Ewert makes his first cut on the PGA Tour. He's got status this year, tied for 44th at minus 15. Good on him. They'll go to Torrey Pines, classic, gorgeous Torrey Pines on the San Diego coast coming up. Our poll question results from Friday, Yellow Dog poll question results from Friday. Should Philip Hronek be the next captain of the Vancouver Canucks? Yes or no? More than 1,600 votes, Blake.
People said no.
They said no. Percentage?
64.
69.
See what you did there.
Ken, I think in that room he already is the captain. I voted yes, but give him the rest of the year to hone his skills with the media and name him next year. Saw a lot of that. Scott, imagine how grumpy he would be doing interviews during tough times. Worse than JT Miller. Yeah, could be. Josh says next captain shouldn't be decided until the next core is established. Give it 2 to 3 years. We did see a lot of that as well. No captain this year and even no captain for several years, which Blake and I had a good debate on last week. Errors and omissions from last week, well, Friday and beyond. We were talking with David Pignotta. He mentioned to us that some NHL players were going skiing over the Olympic break. Now, I thought skiing was downhill, alpine skiing was specifically written into the standard player contract that, no, that's one of the things you're not allowed to do.
Certainly has been at times.
Yeah. And I mentioned the case of Patrice Brisebois, the former Montreal Canadiens defenseman who was caught skiing when he was out with injury. Our buddy Colin in planning said, I think you're thinking of Vladimir Malakoff, another Habs defenseman. And here's the thing. It's both.
Were they together?
It was Malakoff in 2000, and then 3 years later, Brisebois in 2003. Both weren't playing and sidelined by the Canadiens. Both went off skiing with their families. Malakoff was soon traded.
And
how does that happen?
To ski on Tremblant? To ski on ice?
Well, that's it. To ski Tremblant.
Like,
well, maybe he went down to Killington or
still
Sugar Bush, one of those Vermont.
You don't wreck your contract over Eastern skiing. Like,
no.
Come on.
No. Have you going heli skiing in the Alps?
Yeah, different. Anything out here? Different. The Canucks should be the most tempted. Alberta teams, maybe.
Yeah. Although they need more snow up there, I hear.
Well, they just need new snow.
New snow.
It's just a big glacial mess right now up there.
Some rain coming later in the week. I'm sure it'll be snow up there. Thanks for joining us, everybody. Appreciate you spending some time connecting with the program. Please do subscribe to all our assorted channels, YouTube, and wherever you get your podcast. Costs you nothing. Follow on social, X, Insta, Facebook, TikTok, YouTube, Blue Sky Live on many of those platforms, noon Pacific time weekdays. And, of course, please do support the community sponsors you hear us talking about and keep it local.